2 decades after being ripped apart by genocide, Rwanda is experiencing an economic resurgence fueled by its newfound focus on technology. The World Bank has contributed to this technological transformation through its eRwanda project. Samia Melhem, who joins us now, is a GW alumna and is also the lead Information and Communication Technology, or ICT, specialist at the World Bank. She also oversaw the eRwanda team and its many projects, including its work to introduce technology to the country's agrarian sector. She joins us now to discuss how mobile technology is changing the lives of female Rwandan farmers and the country as a whole. So Samia, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for having me.
So I want to start very briefly. What is eRwanda?
eRwanda is a project that was planned in 2005 when nobody had heard about mobile phones in Rwanda. Less than 0.2% of the population had access to mobile phones. And it had two purposes. The first one was to help government decentralize, improve communication flow between the central government in Kigali and the 30 provinces through the use of ICTs, or information communication technologies, but also provide useful application for the citizens, as well as capacity building, training them in how to use technology to improve their lives.
So one of the main focuses was working on introducing females to the use of technology. And is this something that was new for the eRwanda project?
That was absolutely new. In fact, that was very new to World Bank ICT projects. We haven't really thought about this till early 2000, when we started to look at our research and noticed the big gap, what we call the gender digital divide, in a lot of the projects we were financing. We noticed that unless you really made a concerted effort to include women in all these capacity building efforts, in distributing equipment to them, including them in classes, accrediting them for use of ICTs, they were not going there. It was not automatic.
Now, one of the parliament members of Rwanda, who was a female, said the job of rebuilding Rwanda fell to us. So why are women playing such a prominent role in Rwanda?
After the genocide, women took a much bigger role in rebuilding Rwanda, in the peace process, in agriculture, but also in the parliament. More than 50% of the parliamentarians in Rwanda are female, one of the highest representations in the world. The more difficult part, if you will, is to introduce technology to rural women who, in general, are not literate, who are not easily confronted to technology in their everyday use. And the effort through eRwanda was to familiarize them, break the taboos around women and technologies. You often have this thing in many countries that women are not able to use technology. So break these taboos and
what are these cultural taboos? I'll just cut you off there.
Sure. Cultural taboos is technologies for guys.
Oh.
And boys do it better. Boys use computers and mobile phones, and in many ways this is a cultural thing. The more you expose women, especially at an early age, to technology, the less the taboo is, the less the psychological barrier. We noticed in many of our projects, not only in Rwanda, that the earlier a young boy and a young girls are introduced to technology in early childhood, the less there will be the psychological barriers that technology is too difficult, I'm not going to even try. The shame to try and to fail, which is sometimes very empowering, or the opposite of empowering in many of the young teenagers. So what we've tried to do in eRwanda is to explicitly ask for 50-50 of young women and young men.
That was your goal?
That's right, of most of our training programs.
And did you achieve the goal?
We did not get 50-50. We got a bit above 30%, which was quite good at that time. Remember, this is a project, the first project in which technology was introduced. That was 7-8 years ago. The project took around 5 years. If we did something similar right now, I'm sure we will get easily 50%.
And why is that?
Because of all the awareness that has been building for all these years around technology. People see the impact. People see, through wherever their income is, they see the impact of having a cell phone, saving time, saving transport, getting information faster, saving money, getting the best pricing information. So people do not need advocacy any longer. What they need is useful information technology.
And before we move on, I want to look at some of the aspects of that using the mobile applications. But what, just for factual reference, how much was the cost of the eRwanda project?
The eRwanda project was not that high compared to our typical, project. It was 10 millions.
And what is a typical project?
A typical project in the ICT space, for bigger countries, can range anywhere from 30 million to 180. To give you an example, we have now a bigger project in Kenya, right next door to Rwanda, and it's around 180 million.
Wow.
And it has all sorts of technology introduction component, innovation, big government systems for taxation and budget.
Why was Rwanda so low by comparison?
We did not want to have a huge project we could not manage.
Okay.
We wanted to have something that we could chew on comfortably and show outcome. And I think at that time it was the right choice.
So this was like an experimental, one of the first projects with
Absolutely.
mobile
Absolutely.
capacity.
And it helped build a lot of capacity in the country.
Certainly.
And after that, if you see, for instance, investments in ICTs that came from Rwanda itself, but also from the outside, you have Carnegie Mellon moved a big campus there, building a big campus there. You have the Koreans who are investing in a big innovation center in Rwanda. You have lots of campuses from other universities in Africa moving to Kigali. So this created a larger impact.
Certainly. All right, so let's look at sort of one of the major projects of the Rwanda program, which was the use of mobile phones and integrating, specifically speaking, women to the mobile phone.
Right.
First off, how much do these phones cost?
They don't cost that much. If you get the simple Nokia phone, it's around $20 to $22.
Now, was the World Bank distributing them, or were they purchasing them themselves?
Most of them were being purchased by the Rwandans. What we purchased for them is free minutes, so that they could experiment with SMS. We were afraid that they would not want to invest in SMS before.
That's texting.
Right, texting, simple text messages. And we purchased in bulk minutes for those that participated with us in the experiments around eSoko.
And eSoko was one of the agrarian apps you described it as a local eBay. What did you mean by that?
That's a very good point. I'm glad you remember it. Well, the biggest issue for a lot of the farmers is what is the price of their crop and where do they go to sell it? Given the limited means for transport, the last thing you want to do is go take your potatoes or your soy or your beans to a market which is already overloaded with beans, sell it for very cheap or waste it there. A lot of waste happens, the heat, it's not well, there's not AC there. So basically eSoko is an agricultural marketplace. It exists in the Ministry of Agriculture, which is the big champion.
It's one of the largest sectors, if not the largest economic sector
in Rwanda. Most people in Rwanda live from agriculture, and 60% of the farmers are women. Men tend to go to the cities and adopt other jobs, construction, different type of work. Women stay in the villages and tend to the farms. They're the ones who are producing the tea, the coffee, the maize, the rice. So that application is of great help to the farmers, in particular to women, because what it does is it surveys all the prices of all crops in all the markets, the major markets in Rwanda, more than 100 markets. And with a simple text message.
So I was going to say, what would I do? I would get out my phone, say I wanted to sell coffee.
Right.
And I was a coffee grower and I just harvest. I would take out my phone, wouldn't necessarily be an iPhone, and I would...
You'd be lucky if you had an iPhone.
What would I do?
So you type a short text which takes you to eSoko, and then you'll have a menu. You'll have a menu of all these markets. Wow. You'll put the number of the market you're interested in, and you'll put the number of your crop. Your crop has a code, let's say tomato, bean, etc. And then you will see the price. You can go to another market and see the same price, and then you will make that decision. Where do I want to sell that? You can also text the contact at these markets and see if there is a need for a different crop that you may have. You can do that well ahead of time. The prices are updated on a daily basis.
So, looking a little more specifically, how is this helpful for female farmers?
So female farmers, before the event of this instant access to information, had to either physically go and get that information in the market, and then it was kind of too late to change your mind.
A lot of travel time.
Exactly. A lot of transport, expensive. They don't own trucks. A lot of them don't. Unless you have a cooperative, and there's a few female cooperatives, you don't have much means for transportation. So it's going to be walking or using another means. So it's not only crops, by the way, it's also pesticide. You want to get pesticide, you want to buy fertilizers. A lot of it is heavy, needs some planning. So knowing in advance the prices, the location, the availability, maybe you're going somewhere to fetch a product that no longer is there, has helped save a lot of time, a lot of transport, and has increased the quality of life for a lot of these villagers.
Well, because a lot of these women, in addition to running the farms themselves, they have to tend to their children or raise their babies. How is the app helping in terms of time consuming or reducing time consumption, rather?
Absolutely. And you're absolutely right. Most of the women we're talking about